Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you for watching the premier geek podcast, Ozzy and the Freak Talk Geek. I am always player number two, Ozzy.
Player one, The Freak. And today's episode is NES to VHS, The Beginning. This is the first in a possible short or long series, depends on how much we want to dive into this, that we're going to just come back to frequently, in which we're going to be discussing and talking about video games that have made their way into cinema, pop culture, movies and TV shows. TV shows and movies that were either inspired by video games or had big features in video games as well.
That's right.
And I think today we're starting in the 80s, where it all began.
We are going to start this off in the 80s as far as adaptations are concerned. When
Mm-hmm.
we originally planned to do this episode, it was just going to be a broad, general,
Yeah.
video games and movie adaptations. And I know just upon research that I was doing for this and my own personal knowledge, I'm like, this is going to be longer than a 1 hour episode. We're going to have to break
Yeah.
this down. I thought by breaking it down by the decades, we'll probably be able to do this a little bit smoother,
Mm-hmm.
pay a little bit more attention to all the different topics that are actually involved in this timeline for video games and the movies. But then I was looking
Until we get
ahead. We're going to have to
until
split up the 90s. I mean, this is
Ooh.
yeah, this is
until
going
we
to
get
be
into the movies too.
yeah,
Once we start getting into movies, we're probably going to have just as individual episodes for specific movies, because some of these there's just too much to talk about and just skimp over.
yeah. Even so, even in our research with doing just getting to the 80s, there's a couple of things that I do want to focus on that are going to be
Mm-hmm.
either watch-alongs that we'll have on here, or just deep dive long episodes. But I'm excited because this was my bread and butter growing up as a kid, and I absolutely have a lot of memories, a lot of good memories about a lot of this stuff, and I'm so grateful we get to share it.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Me too. I think I know a lot of us grew up on video games. A lot of us grew up on Saturday morning cartoons. Some of this stuff came out, you know, when I was born and even before I was born. And there were still, different shows and different movie channels and stuff that would show the reruns and the episodes and everything. So it was pretty cool to catch up on some of it. There's a lot here that we're going to even discuss that some of it I never even watched or saw, because
Right.
there's a lot of it came out all in one small time period from each other.
Mm-hmm. It's and it's weird. There's a couple of years which I'm thinking of the years that we don't cover in the
Mm-hmm.
80s were years of production.
Might have been,
They
yeah.
production for especially for the animated stuff. It was all in production anyway in those missing years, and it just wasn't filling the entire decade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think what we really should start off with is like, all right, children, gather around Grandpa. I'm going to tell you about a time before video games.
That existed.
In fact, there existed a time before video games. There was a time before even video games were in our home. With the advent of video games, in particular, like games like Pong, um, those resulted in a mass uh, pop culture phenomenon that happened where kids were gathering around, shoving quarters into machines, and playing games with each other out in public. Then they
Yeah.
weren't playing sports; they started playing video games, and that's when the arcades turned from a CD, uh, you know, uh, uh, crime thing with pinball machines, which pinball machines were technically a gambling device. So it opened up arcades with pinball and pool and arcade games to have children come in and
Yeah.
it just
Became
it
social gathering
it
points.
became so, especially in the 80s, in the early 80s.
Hmm.
They were in malls. I don't know if you guys remember malls, were huge buildings with mass shopping. Dude, malls are dying, dude.
Oh, I know,
I've,
I know.
I've,
We
I've,
have two near us that a church bought part of it, a gym bought part of it, and the rest of it's just closed.
yeah, me look, me and number four and number five, we were driving up to Tulsa, and we
Uh
stopped
huh.
at this town called Broken Arrow, and they had a mall, and it was the saddest beige place I've ever been in my life, dude. They still had an
Man.
orange Julius, and they had a guy selling gold in the kiosk in the middle of the aisle. Like, and that's it. That's
Oh
it.
man,
It was
that's sad.
so sad. It was so sad. And I remember like being a kid, going to the mall, asking my mom if I can go to the arcade. And I was a little kid, and she was okay with me going off on my own.
Hmm.
I was going to be perfectly safe, or mostly perfectly safe, for me to be out of her eyesight in an arcade playing video games.
Yeah.
And that time and that experience is something that the younger generation of kids that are hopefully watching this YouTube, or even my own kids, aren't going to experience and have no clue what I'm talking about.
I mean, that was one of the funnest parts. Like my family, they'd go out for bowling or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Almost every bowling place you went to had an arcade.
All right.
You know, I'd go play a little bit, do some FaceTime with the family, and then after that, pretty much I was in the arcade.
All right.
Growing up, we had Funplex. I don't know if you remember Funplex.
I do.
With huge arcade, had a bunch of other activities, but you either found me at Adventure Bay during the summertime or any other time I was in the arcades. And then even as far as high school, when with the opening of Katy Mills Mall, they had FYE for your entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the best arcade, but it was still pretty fun to go in and spend some time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was a little overpriced.
Yeah, and every CC's,
Oh yeah.
we went to CC's when we were young. Every CC's had an arcade in the back. It wasn't the best. I was a master at Cruising World.
Oh God, I
Cruising
love that.
USA and Cruising World, when you double tap on the gas and your car would flip up and fire would shoot out the back. But yeah, man, arcades is where it was at. I loved it.
Right, and if you didn't have an
Um,
arcade, you at least had a local Pizza Hut. And this
yeah.
is where I saw a lot of comments on what I put on our Facebook group, was that a lot of people's first memories with arcade machines were at a Pizza Hut, when Pizza Huts were a dining experience.
Hmm.
And I do remember, our Pizza Hut had uh, what was it, Tapper,
Hmm.
which was the root beer tapping game, and oh gosh, I think they had it. Yeah, they had a sit down Dig Dug.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dig Dug was such a great game. But
Yeah.
so it's funny you mentioned the pizza places. So I never went
Mhm.
to a Pizza Hut or anything like that that had an arcade. However,
Well, arcades are
when
loose,
yeah,
loose.
however, when we were young, my mother was a manager of a place called Pistol Pete's Pizza. It was a small chain that came out in the 80s, and you know we only had one vehicle at the time. Dad would go up in the evening time and help her close down. And they would bring me and my brother James up there. And mom would just come out and just give us a bucket of tokens. And we would be there after hours. The place is closed, and we had the entire place. It was kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese in a way, but like
Mhm.
more video games and stuff, more actual arcade style, less tickets. And I would go through like a bucket almost in the every time in the evening, just sitting there playing all these different arcades. And that
Right.
was where pretty much I want to say my passion for video games probably started right there.
Right.
And it was what it to this day, it's still one of my greatest and fondest memories. I loved going up there and I loved doing that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. My very first video game memory
Uh-huh.
is from a Showbiz Pizza, which was the I believe the progenitor, came out before Chuck E. Cheese. This was
Okay.
made by the same guy. This Chuck E. Showtime Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese was all kind of created by the guys who created Atari.
Okay. Whoa. Cool.
Yeah. So that's another like cool like little dive into this is, and my very first game I do remember playing because I love Popeye so much was the Popeye arcade game. I do. I love Popeye, and I remember it. Gosh, that must have been like my fourth or fifth. I'm talking
That's right. You put a
early.
post up about that.
Yeah, it was the earliest memory. I thought the Mario Brothers and the gas station was it, but I do specifically remember playing Popeye. It was very early. It was back when they still had ball pits and those kind of places. Go to the ball pit,
Uh,
check for needles, okay, and go play Popeye.
Speaking of video games and everything, my wife got me a new cup.
I love it. What does it say on there?
Eat,
Eat,
sleep, game,
game,
repeat, and
nice.
then gamer fuel.
That's cool. I like that. Well, I think we should
Ah,
get into it, though. We're going to get into
let's
the
do it.
adaptations. We're going to run through this, to give you little screenshots of the earliest that I could find, at least in my research. The earliest video game to other media adaptation that I could find
Hmm.
is the 1982 Pac-Man cartoon. And there he is in all his glory. Now, I was born in 1982, and this came out in 1982. And
Uh-huh.
I guess I caught it at some point or another while it was in syndication. This is the very first video game cartoon that I could find in my research, and it sounds about right.
Yeah.
This is the American animated television series produced by Hanna-Barbera. So we're talking the Flintstones, folks.
Yeah.
It was based on the Namco video game franchise of the same title, premiered on ABC, ran for 44 episodes over 2 seasons from 1982 to 1983. It is, this is not research, the very first cartoon based on a video game. And this was in the heyday or the beginnings of Saturday morning cartoons for us.
Hmm.
And this is also the speak of the early 80s cultural icon that Pac-Man became.
Hmm.
Any documentary you read, anything you'll see about Pac-Man. Pac-Man was a huge icon of the 80s. He was pre-Mario, pre, like he was bigger than Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, and like the first consoles, like the first arcades that came out of Pac-Man weren't even it was very similar to like table pong, wasn't it? Where it wasn't a stand-up arcade, it was a table? Or did those come
Uh,
afterwards?
I think the table ones came afterwards.
Okay.
The sit down arcade machines, I think those came after with bars. Wanted to, they didn't want their patrons to just be standing over the machines. They wanted them to sit
Hmm.
down and eat and drink and
Okay.
order more food. So they developed the sit down arcade to
Yeah.
facilitate that.
But I remember the first Pong that came out was a table Pong.
Yeah.
That one was table format, but I do remember there's very few games that actually came out with different table versions of them, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember Pac-Man being one of them. And I
Pac-Man, Miss
was,
Pac-Man,
and it
Dig
to me
Dug, the early Namco games.
it's always boggled my mind too, how big and how famous Pac-Man got,
It,
because
and not
when
even this Pac-Man.
if you played the game, it was just a baka 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 baka, back and forth. What's the
Yep.
next stage? Same thing, different design, a little bit faster, and it was one of those games that like I could play Pac-Man for a good 10 minutes and then I'm done.
Oh man, I played till the lives ran out, man. I played till the
Yeah.
quarters run out. I enjoy playing Miss Pac-Man more than regular Pac-Man.
Okay. I couldn't
Miss
even
pa-
tell you the difference.
okay, well, she's got a bow.
Well, no, I know that, but I mean between the games.
The maps are different, right?
Okay.
And in original Pac-Man, the ghosts follow the same path every
Hmm.
time. Every time you can predict it, and the ghosts are going to go this way. This one's going to go this way, and that's how they're going to go.
Okay.
Miss Pac-Man had the ghosts were randomly mapped, so they would go randomly. You could not tell which way they were going to go. You couldn't
So it's not
predict
like any
which.
stage memorization going on here, as far as learning the process. Each one would be random.
Exactly. And that just
Gotcha.
ramped up the difficulty and ramped up the quarters and it ramped up the popularity. Miss Pac-Man was a far superior
Okay.
arcade game and a far more popular arcade game. But we wouldn't have Miss Pac-Man without the original Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Yep.
So the show followed the adventures of the title character Pac-Man, his wife, which is, I just read this, Pepper Pac-Man. Who knew she had a
Pepper.
first name?
I didn't know she had a pack. No, I didn't know that either.
And their child, Pac Baby.
Pack
Their
baby.
dog Chomp Chomp and their cat Sourpuss. I'm not gonna read any of this. Okay,
The dogs. So the Chomp Chomp.
what's the name of the dog,
Like Nintendo didn't come after them for that.
bro? Nintendo and Namco have been at each other's throats for years.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. But Chomp Chomp, yeah, and their
Okay.
cat Sourpuss, and I just can't read any more about this. We know the ghosts: Blinky, Inky, Pinky, Clyde, and Sue.
I
Power
got one of them here.
pellets, Inky or Blinky. I think it's Blinky.
Like,
I think it starts red and Blinky. I want to say the red ghost is Blinky. But anyway, I do remember this cartoon. I remember watching this cartoon on Saturday mornings. I remember after Easter, when we would get those plastic eggs for like Easter, I would draw the eyes
like Pac-Man.
and do the cartoon. I made my own action figures from those Easter eggs based on this cartoon.
And I will say that this is one of the games and slash cartoons that have lasted throughout centuries, or throughout the decades.
Yeah.
Kids these days may have never ever even played a Pac-Man game, but if you show them Pac-Man, they'll usually know who it is.
Correct.
That's one of the things that I found pretty interesting.
He's definitely like burned into our our lexicon of iconography.
Yeah.
Yeah. You show a silhouette of Pac-Man to anybody, they'll know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, and they'll know what he sounds like too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And because of the rise of arcades, because of the rise of Pac-Man, I mean, there was just more that came out. There was more cartoons that came out. In fact, there was one particular station that decided to have an entire animated plot about, and they gave us several short segments of shorter cartoons, and I'm talking about the Saturday morning Supercade. Actually, I'm jumping ahead. Before that, it was Starcade. I'm sorry. Starcade. Saturday Supercade was an answer to Starcade, but Starcade came out, and what did
Starcade came out was really awesome because this is the first time that you really see any sort of video games and people playing video games on TV, where we do it on YouTube now, and this was in 1983
and it took the competitive element. Yeah, they took the competitive element out of the arcade onto the TV to show the world, hey, this is not just a toy. This is not just fun. This can be a serious competition.
Yeah, and this went on for just over 2 years, with what was it, 26 episodes on this.
Nice.
26 episodes for Starcade, and each time they had to answer questions and they had to play games and get to a certain point in a game. Starcade was cool.
I don't remember this show, but I do remember another show that came out a couple years after this one. But I love seeing this, and in fact, this video game in the culture also reached into other shows. Like, for example, Different Strokes was on for 5 seasons, and on their 5th season, in their first episode, they had Shootout at the OK Arcade, which ultimately ended the whole conflict of the show. Was to have a competition in an arcade, and it was just to see to see an arcade on TV, out of the dimly light arcades to put it on TV. This is where our kids are. This is what they're doing. They're competing with one another, but they're having fun in a safe environment.
I'm sorry. I can't think of anything but other than what you talk about, Wilson. Like you can't think of different strokes or anything like that without thinking about it. I'm just saying.
It's okay.
You know.
I get it. I've actually never seen an episode of Different Strokes,
Mhm.
so I'll,
I have
only thing
seen
I know
it. I
about
have
it
seen
is
a few.
only thing I know about it is that what you're talking about. I have
Yeah. What you talk about,
no
Willis?
clue
Or what you talking about,
about it.
Willis? Yeah.
But the biggest thing I think that came out in 1982, from I think it's from Buena Vista and Disney Studios, Tron.
Oh yeah, we do have Tron. So we've
Tron
got.
tells a story of an video game creator who got forced um, out of his own company, who realized that the AI program that was running his games and running his company is going to be stealing from different people, and he wants to try to stop it
Mhm.
through the technology of video games and laser beams. He gets sent into the video game world and to stop Master Control, the evil AI.
Yeah.
This movie, has spawned now 2 sequels,
Mhm.
with one coming out next year, and an animated series, and even back into video games with games like Kingdom Hearts.
Really, Tron is in Kingdom Hearts?
Tron is in Kingdom Hearts. In fact, I have some of the action figures for that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, one of the worlds that they have to go and get a Keyblade from is from
Uh-huh.
the Tron world.
Really? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I have some of the. I think they came out with the figures. Who was it? The ones that actually ship the comics. What is that company called?
Couldn't tell you.
Uh,
No idea. I just
anyway,
I
they're cool.
remember more of the game of Tron than the actual show.
The arcade game,
Than the movie.
the light cycle racing game.
Yeah, Light Cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So and
Awesome.
then here they had the disc as well.
The
They
memory disc.
the memory disc, the weapons that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the circle on his chest, wasn't it?
It was the
Like
one on their back.
oh, it was on the back.
It was
Okay,
on their back.
okay, yeah, I remember it was something like that.
Dude, I watched the behind the scenes of how they made this and how they made this like lighting effect and stuff like this when
Uh
the
huh.
sequel came out. They kind of, or it's one of the anniversary editions. I finally watched some of the behind the scenes stuff on this, and it was just amazing how they just got it to work. They just figured it out.
It's pretty cool.
It's an
It was
awesome movie.
definitely like groundbreaking, I would say.
It was amazingly groundbreaking, and I mean, and it also from Disney Studios, like one of the biggest movie studios. It was about video games,
Mm-hmm.
about the dangers you could die in your video game, but you could also
Yeah,
like
yeah,
have fun in video games too. But this is one I want to come back to. I want to come back to
yeah.
this original Tron when we get closer to the third movie,
Uh huh.
that's coming out. I do want to circle back, and I want to specifically talk about Tron and everything about it, the making
Oh
of,
yeah,
the
we can
actors, and
do a
everything
whole
like that.
episode based on Tron.
So I do want to come back with Tron. So we'll leave it at that.
Yep.
1982 ended with Tron.
I know after or which I don't know your timeline. How you want to do this?
Go ahead.
The video game.
The video game came out in 1984.
Okay, I thought
But
it was immediately after Starcade.
Starcade, okay, so Starcade ran for a few seasons. Starcade
Uh
ran
huh.
in 82 and 83. And then video game came out in 84.
Okay.
So I mean, we can get into the video game if you want to talk
Well,
about it, but I do want to go back to
yeah. Let's go back.
what I showed you a little, what you pulled up. I have you pulled up accidentally with Saturday Supercade. Saturday Supercade.
This one definitely kickstarted a lot of this.
Oh yes, it did. This was it. Okay, so Saturday Supercade is an American animated television series produced for Saturday mornings by Ruby Spears Productions, and it ran for 2 seasons on CBS. Now, there's also a thing I wanted to mention
Mm-hmm.
here at this. We only had 3 stations back then. You had ABC, NBC, CBS. Nobody had cable. Nobody had satellite except their rich single uncle had a satellite.
For what it's worth, like I know as kids back in the day, we didn't really watch TV. Outside of cartoons, the TV, our interaction with the TV was when my dad needed me to turn the volume up or change the channel.
Right.
Because we didn't even have a clicker.
Same. I was the clicker.
Exactly.
Right. But that's just to say, like, with how big TV was for us back then, that they took it upon themselves not only to give us entertainment, give kids entertainment on television, because if we were watching television, we could watch the commercials and we could tell our parents that we want to buy those products.
Yep.
I mean, that's really what it is, but we did ultimately get the stuff that we wanted to watch, including this. We played the game, Donkey Kong. We wanted to see more Donkey Kong, so we got more Donkey Kong. I don't know who asked for Cubert, but we got Cubert animated.
That one, but it was actually a decent show. That was one of the few of the shows that I actually kind of remember, and it was closely related to the game as far as jumping around the blocks and stuff too.
I honestly have no memory of any of these pictures that we're going to show you. I had none, no clue. This one is as much as a surprise to me as any. But I do not recognize. That is not my Mario. That is not my Donkey Kong. That's not Princess Peach.
No.
In fact, that is Donkey Kong, voiced by Soupy Sales, as he has escaped the circus and he's on the loose, and Mario and Pauline are chasing the ape.
Yeah.
As with the original game, Donkey Kong often grabs Pauline and Mario has to save her. Plus, typically is centered around them encountering crime with villains conning the slow-witted Donkey Kong into doing their work, and Mario and Pauline exposing the truth. After Mario and Pauline reveal the truth to Donkey Kong, the three of them team up to stop the antagonist's plans, followed by Donkey Kong evading Mario and Pauline again. Cute. Fun.
Yeah.
That is not my Mario.
No. What is he wearing here? What's going on here?
He looks like a small child with a popsicle in the toy store.
And they made him in the game. They made him look so like angry and like almost evil looking. Like definitely he was a villain. Like, he was straight up a villain who somehow became a good guy in the show. He was the good guy, right? Like. Right. And until you get to, which we'll get into,
he Donkey was the slow-witted underdog.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
Pitfall.
And then, so we got Pitfall. Oh wait, real quick. Yeah. So I do know, Donkey Kong.
Right.
What is it? It had 2 seasons
on Saturday Supercade. It's probably the most popular little short segment.
Yeah, it was 2 seasons. The final one being October 13th, 1984. And the first one had 13 episodes. Oh no, 19 episodes in season 1 with 6 episodes in season 2. So I mean, they actually had quite a few of them.
Oh yeah. Just don't remember it.
Nope. Well, the last episode was October 13th, 1984. I wasn't even born until a month and a half afterwards.
Yeah, I wonder if there was some kind of rights reasons and this one didn't get syndicated.
Maybe.
Because this is a lot of different companies that is on this one little show. I mean, for example, you got what was it? I didn't get the who did what. But between Space Ace, Kangaroo, Frogger, Pitfall, I mean, these are all from different gaming companies.
Yeah.
The fact that they all allowed to go into one another for this show is astounding. That they didn't protect their IPs. I guess maybe because of shows like this, it became a reason for them to protect their IPs to just have it. No, this needs to be by itself. We need to have all the money ourselves and not share it amongst these other companies.
I mean, the way I look at it is, I mean, Pitfall wasn't getting much money on itself just by being a video game. You throw in a cartoon, even if it's shared with other people. Now the name's getting out there.
Sure.
Now they're making more money than just basically the game.
Right. Right.
And Pitfall, this was Atari, wasn't it?
It was Atari.
Yeah,
It's an Atari game. So was Frogger,
yeah.
and
And his name, the character's name. I thought the show would have been named Pitfall, but no, his name is Pitfall Harry.
Pitfall Harry,
Yeah, they're
voiced by
coward.
Robert Ridgely.
Yep, and Quick Claw, the mountain lion. Everybody's got to
Okay,
have their own little sidekick. It
I,
seems,
I guess so. An
And it
anthropomorphic
looks,
animal of some sort.
yeah, and it looks like this one, 7 episodes, 7 episodes from what I'm seeing.
Hmm.
So I don't
Yeah,
think Pitfall. I mean, how much can you do about Pitfall? Pitfall was, and to me, Pitfall was basically Indiana Jones.
it was an Indiana Jones ripoff game,
It
right?
was. I mean, it really was. He had the whip that you had to use to get across the alligators. You know,
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But I would
and there were snakes. There were always snakes chasing you. And what does Indiana Jones hate?
snakes,
Snakes.
scorpions, and like. I actually want to find out what came out first, Pitfall or Indiana Jones.
Let me do a quick search real quick. Let's figure this out.
Uh, yeah, like this is prime Saturday morning cartoon.
1981.
Is when
Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981, and the Pitfall game came out in 1982, a year later.
so Pitfall is
So
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Pitfall's Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. It really is.
That's funny.
And that was
That
on the
is
Atari
funny.
2600, which I still have and I still play from Intellivision.
Oh man. Oh god. I don't have my Atari 2600 anymore. I did get one. I did play a little bit of that before we got our NES.
Do you remember when I don't think Game Crazy was. It might have been. I don't know if it was closing or if it was when Game Crazy y'all were just getting rid of a lot of stock and everything like that. But remember those big black cases that you could store Nintendo systems and different systems in those big black cases?
Oh yeah.
To this day, I still have every single one of those cases, and I had like 6 of them from y'all. One of them is completely filled with Atari 2600 games.
Nice.
One of them, I still have the Atari 2600 in one of them, my NES, my Super NES, and then my Sega Genesis and a couple others in all of those cases in storage still.
So you're talking about the big wooden boxes with the drawers, right?
No, there were big black cases that were solid plastic that had 2 clips on the front of them, and you could open them
Okay.
up.
Those
And they were molded specifically for different video
systems.
games. Yeah, video game systems.
Those were rental cases. So
I
those
figured
were
that's what they
for
were.
when those were from when like Hollywood Video or Blockbuster Video or whoever your mom and pop video store would buy an actual video game system,
And you could
and
rent it.
and you can rent the system. You didn't have to
Yeah.
buy the system, but you can rent it and rent a game. Yeah, so that's what those cases are.
Yeah.
That's
And I
actually
still have those.
awesome. You still have those.
Oh
That's
yeah,
really
still
cool.
have every single one of them in storage, and they hold my consoles and they hold my video games. And like I said,
Chances
I have a
are
whole case of Atari 2600 games.
chances are we had that because, and you did get it from us, but we didn't know how to price it, so we just priced it as a generic
Mhm.
accessory, and it was 50 cents.
Oh shit. Yeah, I got like
Yeah,
6 of them.
I got nothing. I at one point I had the big wooden boxes that were specifically for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64, and they were like pieces of furniture almost.
And you had the
And
big Game Boy, didn't you?
and I still have the big Game Boy.
I had the PlayStation and the Xbox sign, the big, real big, giant
Neon sign.
neon signs. Yeah, I had those.
I still have the only thing I still have left in there is I have the giant Game Boy, and I have a GameCube neon clock that the
That's
Nintendo
awesome.
rep gave me.
That's
I
awesome.
I unfortunately had to sell the Dreamcast robot, and I
Oh,
sold the
that one
uh,
was my favorite too.
Game Boy Color tabletop display that had the
Yeah.
light and the Game Boy Color. I had to sell those. I really wish I didn't have to sell, it, especially that Dreamcast robot. But
Yeah, the Dreamcast would have been cool. All right,
that was
back
a
to
steal. That was
Pitfall.
like I was not supposed to bring that home, but
It
technically my manager
perks
said
to
it
the
was
job.
okay.
Perks of the job, man.
Yeah, yeah. But so after Saturday Starcade, I mean, with Pitfall, if you want to show the pictures for Frogger, I don't know what's going on there.
I
Does
have
Frogger have a
not.
butler?
Does Frogger hang out with other frogs and turtles? Like, I don't know what's going on here at all. Like,
Uh,
I never saw anything about Frogger. I know I've got it pulled up over here. Let's
Frogger
see.
is an ace reporter of the swamp who works at the Swamp Gazette. He and his friends, Shell Shock Shelly Turtle and Fanny Frog, go out in search of crazy stories, sometimes about human behavior, to publish in the newspaper. Frogger also has to deal with his gruff boss, the editor in chief, Tex Toadwalker.
Toad Walker.
As in the game, he often has encounters with an alligator or gets flattened by a passing car. Unlike the game, Shelly revives Frogger using an ordinary air pump. I still,
You know what's funny? We're reading like the same. We're both reading the exact
yeah,
same
we this was from
page.
the Wikipedia.
Yep, that's where I got to.
So Shelly would come out and
Pump them back up. 13 episodes we got for that.
hey,
13 episodes we got with this.
oh god. Thankfully they were shorts and didn't take up the whole half hour of Saturday
Yeah,
Supercade. Dude, all right, Kangaroo. I only ever played Kangaroo. Um, I didn't even know that was a
never,
game until last year. I was in an
never
old
played
retro arcade. I did see this. I did play it, and I was like, I can't play this. Um,
it.
there was even
Never
some thought.
played it.
There was me either. I played it once, and then but I can't even say I played it. Space Ace. Now, Space Ace is interesting. It's interesting that they with Don Bluth animation did these Space Ace shorts and didn't do Dragon's Lair, which was. But I'm going to assume it's because Space Ace was the newest show, and they were
Yeah,
still working on the same with those animation cells.
yeah. This was aired September 8th, 1984.
Um, oh, so
December
this probably
1st.
came. So this was probably airing the same time that the Dragon Slayer cartoon was airing in
It might.
1984 too.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very, very similar art. Like.
Well, I mean, it's from the same company. It's from this. You
Sorry,
know,
sorry.
you're fine, bud.
Ugh.
Donkey Kong Jr. Okay.
Well, we also
Anyway,
got Qbert, and Qbert was one of the ones that I actually saw a little bit of.
I have
And
no memory of this.
see, one of the things I always loved about Qbert. Now I have to read these because I remember them all being Q's or something, but the names, like his girlfriend. So this is Qbert, the main character. Uh, we got QT, his brother Qbit, and his friend Q Ball. And then Qval and Qmungus. But then we go to his enemies, the bullies that were always picking on him and his friends. We got Collie, Ugg, and Wrong Way.
Coily, in wrong. Oh my god.
Yeah. And again, we also have Frank Welker doing more voices. Frank Welker was doing a lot of the voices back then.
Oh god, yeah, it was. I hate to look at his IMDb right now.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Jr. also voiced by Frank Welker. I mean, he was very popular in the day when it came to voices.
Yeah, obviously. Holy cow.
Yeah. So yeah, we got all of those shows that we got with Saturday morning.
All right. Um. Okay. So, but also, again, we get into it touching into our cultural icon. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, at the time in the '80s, and especially in the early '80s, I don't know how to describe them, but they were like sexploitation comedies. Um, like Porky's and
Mm.
even Revenge of the Nerds, I would consider one of these, and another one of these. It's uh, dumb guys trying to get hot girls for sex, and then you kind of add a setting, whether it be a fraternity in a college,
Yeah.
or at a a riverboat strip club, or in like 1983's Joystick, an arcade. It's the way you set us back, guys. Uh, Dudes trying to get laid in an
I'm
arcade.
surprised Jim Belushi wasn't in this movie.
He was probably their first pick. It was probably written for him and just passed. Like, I've never heard of this movie,
I've
but
never heard of it either.
when I read about it, I was like, okay, I know exactly what this is. This is another tits on silver screen
Yep.
movie, and
Yep. Another smash grab to go ahead and join the culture at the time, which was video games, and show some tits. Probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch it after this.
I do kind of want to find it and stream it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a asterisk right there on my notes to stream underline 3 times. But mainstream motion pictures, we did get, starring Matthew Broderick, War Games.
Oh yeah, War Games. Let me get this pulled up here.
This
Here we go.
1983. Kid hacker thinks he's playing a war simulation game through other computers. So this is like an early internet type game too.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
type movie. They're talking about hooking their computer up to a phone line and accessing one another. This kid thinks he's playing a war simulation game, is actually starting a war and firing missiles and potentially nuclear arms
And
at
they
other
have
countries.
and they are
Thinking
none
it's
the
game.
wiser. They are just none the wiser, thinking it's a new simulation, and they have no idea what's going on, man.
Look at the size of that computer. Good Lord. That's just a monitor? Or is that the computer
Yeah,
too?
that's the monitor. I don't know I don't know
Good
what's going
Lord.
on over here. It's like some or old Panasonic stereo system going on over here.
Oh, that is a ribbon reader. That
Is
would
that
like
what that is?
read that. I think that would like read the written binary on from paper.
Really?
I think so. I think that's what that is.
Huh.
So that would be an early computer
Modem.
programming device.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to go back into it and look at it and see the technology that they had.
I do want to see how antiquated it is with today's technology. And just kind of make a comparison to like what they consider like a huge amount of memory as compared to like what we have on our fucking phones.
Yeah, remember, phones are temporary. They're not meant to last.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Our teachers also told us we would never have calculators in our pockets.
Right?
You gotta learn this way. You sound like you're gonna be walking around with a calculator in your pocket.
All right, just because we mentioned this yesterday and a couple of days, a while back, me and my friends, teachers grill all this information into you and everything like that. Let me ask you this: when's the last time you used Pythagorean theorem?
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Pythagorean theorem. Okay. The only time in my entire adult life, I'm almost 40 years old. I'm starting my adult life around 18 years old, moving on up from 18 to 40 years old. I have used Pythagorean theorem precisely 3 times. And all 3 of those times took place in Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder game.
So you did need it.
Which goes to prove
did need it.
Which goes to prove that D&D and games of the sort are for fucking nerds.
Oh yeah, dude.
But in my entire adult life, that's the only time I ever used that knowledge.
That's awesome, dude.
Yep. And I still know that
awesome.
the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You got to know that.
I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill sitting here on Capitol Hill.
There you go.
Okay. Moving on, we're going to go into 1984, and we're going to begin 1984 with the video game.
The video game.
Which is another competition
I only got
video
one
game
image
show.
for this.
that was about the best I could find that would kind of
Yeah,
give you an idea of how
very
80s this show was.
very look at the intensity in this kid. Like he is clearly like several years older than this kid.
He's like,
Like
I am going to
this
whoop this
kid's a
little kid's
teenager, and
ass.
this kid's not even like what is it when you're like a tween? This kid's not even a tween yet. And this kid's almost 20.
Yeah, I mean, look, use his mustache, for God's sakes. But he's about to come across that console and slap that kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he definitely looks like it, man. So this was the predecessor to Starcade.
Yes, this ran after Starcade. This was because of Starcade. They wanted to keep going on even after Starcade's cancellation. And this was filmed. Where was this filmed at?
This was filmed in Six Flags.
That's right.
This was filmed in Six Flags, and this one had, I want to say that the video game actually had more on the quiz side as well, but it still had like it still had where the kids would play the video games, they would play arcades. The first to get X amount of points, or the first to reach X point in level would first, and with most lives, I think they would win.
Right. And this wouldn't be the last time that we would see a video game competition show, but it will be the last one that we'll talk about. There was one other one that came out in 1991, and that's the one that I actually remember watching. So this was a little bit, again,
G4?
this was no pre-G4. It'll be a surprise for the next time that we dive into this. But I do recognize this concept, and I do recognize the game show concept. Is it gives the kids a show. I even think that this was this a daily show, or was this just a Saturday morning show? So I learned,
I
like,
would
the
have to check
competition
out.
shows at a certain point became like daily afternoon shows for kids to watch. Again, it's just another competition show to show off video games for kids. Just get kids on TV, to get kids watching other kids playing video games, which is actually a problem I have with my kids now.
Yep, this was the very first time we ever got to watch people playing video games.
And I guess I did it too.
But this was fun and entertaining. This isn't just people playing. This was a show. This was different. This is, and nowadays people don't even watch people play video games. People watch people reacting to people watching people playing video games. Like it gets intense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like Inception going on.
Based on the popularity of the video game and Don Bluth Productions, 1984, we also got a Dragon's Lair animated series.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you remember, Dragon's Lair was a completely animated arcade game, and it gave you with the arcade elements that it gave into the story and into the combat. Was just making a choice. If you made this choice or you made this choice, you would go and you would get a different series of animations. This was truly a playable cartoon at arcades.
Yeah, it was a cartoon / video game version of. Did you ever read those books when you were young? Those choose your own adventure books?
Yep.
At the end of the page or at the end of the chapter, your character has two options to do this or this, and depending on what you're going to do, what you choose to do, that's which chapter you go to in the book. And this was a video game cartoon style that literally followed that to a script. The guy runs down the hall, and the game pauses, and you only have a brief couple of seconds to make a split decision. Do I go left? Do I go right? You turn left, boom, you step into a trap, your character turns into ashes, you die, you got to start the game over. That game, not gonna lie, this game pissed me off more than any of the Souls games. And I played a lot of the Souls games and broken a few controllers over those games. All right, I almost destroyed a keyboard with Elden Ring on one the most recent one. But Dragon's Lair pissed me off so much, especially because it was a game that you could play at arcades,
Yeah.
which meant that I fed so many coins and so many quarters into that game,
Hmm.
only to not even get very far.
No. No.
Because you really do, you get a split moment to make a decision, and if you don't, oh, that's it. You didn't make a decision. The game chooses for you, and 90% of the time, it chose death.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
But
still have no idea how the game ends.
so now we have a cartoon based on the video game that is a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing interesting about, I believe, about the Dragon's Lair arcade games was they were actually a laser disc system in each one
Really?
of those cabinets. It was the because of so much information that was for the game, for the animation itself, and the choices and the different scenes that it would go to. That was all on a laser disc. So,
Oh,
for people who don't know what laser discs are
a
record
CD.
size CDs or DVDs.
I actually have one in the other room. I can go get if you want.
You have a laser disc?
Yeah, I actually have one. Let me go get one real quick.
I've been toying around just getting them just to collect them. But at a certain point in time with technology switching over, we had VHS tapes or Betamax tapes, and there was the advent of the laser technology used for reading information for computers. That transitioned over to entertainment media, so we potentially we're going to get the next big media thing for us to purchase were laser discs. Laser discs were overly expensive as compared for production and even purchasing. Um, so that didn't really pan out like the way the VHS did, and eventually DVDs did. What you got there? Oh, you haven't
So,
even opened it yet?
well, it I have to open it. The top piece is slightly missing.
What?
So this is an original American Werewolf in London Laserdisc.
Oh, dude, don't open it if it hasn't
No,
been
no, no, no,
opened yet.
no, no, no. It's the tabs.
Okay.
The tabs are broken. There's used to be a tab that you would pinch in, and now I have to open it manually. And this, set this aside, is the laser disc for it. It looks very much like a record, but it is pretty much a giant CD, and
Yeah.
it has side one and side two.
Yep. So right
You
in the
know,
middle of the movie, you had to stop and flip
yeah,
it over.
yeah. You had
Unless
to
you had the
stop and flip it
really
over.
expensive laser discs that would just do it for you.
I didn't know
Or
that they
laser disc
made those.
readers.
I
They
didn't know they
did.
made those.
They did. They
Yeah.
were
So
super expensive.
this was the precursor to DVDs,
Yeah.
which was giant laser disc.
That's awesome. You still have one of those.
Hey, you know me, man. I've got a little bit of everything here.
I got you, man. Look, I
And
was debating whether or not
that's
picking those
the
up.
giant cover for it. It's
Right.
basically a big record that's plastic.
That's awesome, man. I love seeing that. During this time, we've also got. Well, I'll let you put that away.
Yeah, it's there.
Sorry about that.
Ah, yeah, I'm just happy I finally got to show this thing off.
There you go. We got an animated pole position cartoon, which I didn't read into. I did look into it. I just found this image for us to check out. To me, it looks like a bastardized version of Speed Racer.
It definitely does. It
And,
definitely does.
and they put the title of a popular video game, Pole Position, which was a racing
Whole
game.
position.
Was an arcade racing game. But we did get that, and I'm just like, okay, well, Speed Racer, got enough of that.
That's literally what it looks like. Is that a guy or a girl? Because it actually looks like a girl.
Hey, look,
I mean,
they
okay,
can
so
they can they,
slightly pink lips. Look at the eyelashes, like the hair. I'm assuming that this is supposed to be a girl here.
I'm gonna say it's a strong female lead.
Yeah, which is good because it's like we don't get many female leads
We don't.
in a lot of this.
We don't. which I'm a little mad with about Captain Ed, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. But and then also 1984, we had probably the darker side of video games with the Dungeon Master.
Oh, the Dungeon Master. Now
Now I'm
you would think, being the nerd that I am, I would know everything about this.
I
I
kind
do
of was
not.
hoping you would because I did not bring any notes about this.
I
Uh,
do not.
from what I know, uh, guy creates video game based on Excalibur.
Hmm.
Video game creature escapes video games into real world. He uses technology from video games to make an Excalibur weapon to fight the bad guy.
Yep, that's pretty much the premise that I've gotten from it.
And
I do recall watching it once,
you
but only
do.
ever once. Only ever once. It was so long ago. I really don't really have much memory of it.
This is I don't know. Other than it having, I believe it had Richard Mall in it. I could not find um, any real care to really figure out more about this movie.
Charles Band production. Okay. Yeah, no, I really honestly have no memory of this.
And it looks
And
worse than the He-Man adaptation.
which was funny because like the cover looks pretty amazing, but I remember the only thing I remember of it is the cover being the best part of it.
You're probably
Uh,
right.
because I remember I rented this once when I was working at Hollywood Video
Mm-hmm.
because I was intrigued because A, the Dungeon Master, so immediately I thought it was D&D related. Not really. And then I also saw the cover and I was like, that looks awesome. As we know about a lot of 80s and even before then, the covers were often way better than the movies.
Never judge a book or a DVD by its cover
Well, this was VHS.
or VHS.
I didn't
Uh,
really have a DVD player then.
but on the other end of movies that came out in 1984, we also got The Last Starfighter. Now, The Last Starfighter, I did see. Now, this movie, it was amazing. It was like a pure, like, teenage kid fantasy. All right, so we got this kid right here. He works at a trailer park, and they have a arcade flight simulator outside. He gets so good at this video game that sends a signal into outer space to let this alien creature know, hey, this is the best person to ever play this game. And he got recruited into an intergalactic civil war and joined the Starfighters and became the last Starfighter to save this alien population from an evil alien overlord. This
That's pretty
had
awesome.
this had prepubescent kid fantasy written all over it. Aliens, video games, far-flung adventure. This movie had the potential to be a Star Wars killer. And I
Really?
say that with my entire chest.
Really?
I really do. I really believe that this could have been a Star Wars killer. Had I don't know what could have saved it. I don't know what could have done it. But this movie was amazing. Such a good movie. So disappointed that we never got any kind of sequel or any kind of follow up with this. There may have been some kind of novelizations or even comic adaptations. I'm not sure, but we needed another movie or we need a reboot of TV on TV. Such a good story. Such a good movie. Love it. What a way to end 1984.
And it's definitely one that's been added to my list.
I highly recommend this movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Do yourself a favor. Just have some fun.
Man, I could not find the name of the movie that I was talking about earlier.
We are not even halfway through the decade and we're already in an hour. So I'm going to bang out. There's nothing really of importance that I can find in any of our research for 1985. However, in 1986, we did get the very first theatrical adaptation of a video game with Super Mario Brothers: The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach. And unfortunately, they only ever got it in Japan.
Uh his face says it all right there.
Yeah.
Wah, wah,
Mm-mm.
wah.
He even got Luigi's colors wrong.
Like, what's going on there? And
This
who's
is
this guy? He looks like he's from Adventure Time.
he does.
Doesn't he?
He
Like straight
does.
up. Like look
He
how
does.
cartoony they look. And I mean, what's I don't know what's going on with her wonky ass eye. Like that is anyways. But yeah, look how
Early
cartoony they are. And
anime.
then you got
This
this
is a
guy.
1986 animated adventure comedy film based on Super Mario Brothers. The plot centers around Mario and Luigi. They go on a quest to save Princess Peach from King Koopa. The
Look at the
story we all
toads.
know.
Look
Look
at
at
the
the toads. They have no
toads.
pants.
What is go? They look like dicks.
Oh my god, they do.
They look like little dicks. And why does Luigi's color outfit keep changing colors?
I
Look here, we got the
I
Wario looking outfit over here, and
I
then we get Waluigi over here. Where did the
I
purple come in?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so here's what I
Oh,
found for the
this
plot.
is glorious.
All right, I had this. Okay, I ripped it. Okay, I don't know.
Oh my god.
Oh, I ripped it. Okay, so Mario is playing a game on his Famicom,
Uh
which was
huh.
the original name of the NES.
Uh huh.
Late at night, when he witnesses a woman on the television crying for help from enemies attacking her, she escapes by jumping out of the TV and introduces herself as Princess Peach. Oh my god. Hold on.
Sound
King
familiar?
Koopa appears and follows her out of the TV. Mario fights him, but there's no match for Koopa, who successfully captures Princess Peach and goes back into the TV. Mario discovers a small necklace that Princess Peach left on the floor. The next day, while he and his brother Luigi are working at a grocery store,
Okay.
okay, Mario can't stop thinking about Princess Peach and the necklace. Luigi claims the jewel on the necklace is said to lead its owner to the Mushroom Kingdom, a supposed land of treasures. A small dog-like creature wanders into the store and snatches the necklace from Mario, prompting him and Luigi to give chase and fall down the pipe. This is giving Captain N vibes.
This is also getting Super Mario Brothers movie vibes. Replace the TV with the tunnel.
Yeah,
Okay. Replace
yeah,
Peach with Daisy. I
yeah.
mean, this is getting Super Mario Brothers movie vibes. They come in there, they kidnap her, they take her back. They're forced to have to go in back into there, and yeah.
Going back into the TV though, and going into Video Land or
Now
whatever
that's
is
Videoland is Captain N.
that's gas. I know, but I'm just saying that's what's giving me like Captain N. That's
Uh
so
huh.
weird. Okay, so anyway, so this
Yeah.
movie never came out to the United States. It never came out here until recently. There has been a successful remaster of this movie, and it is available on YouTube. You can watch it in all of its glory. The very first animated, or just the very first video game to movie adaptation, and
What year did this come out?
this came out in 1986.
Okay.
1986. Yep. Based on the 1985 video game Super Mario Brothers. So this is, yeah, this may not be our first Mario. This may not be our Mario, but
It's not our Mario.
this is the first Mario to go into movie theaters.
It's definitely somebody's Mario. It's not necessarily ours.
I think fans of the original Nintendo Powers,
Uh huh.
though, especially with those Japanese comics that were in the Nintendo Powers, this is their Mario.
Oh god, Nintendo Power. If it wasn't for Nintendo Power, I would have never beat the original Zelda, Zelda 1 or Zelda 2.
Those were
I
way
would have
over my
never
head
beaten
when I was
those.
a kid. I rented them both when I was little,
Yeah.
and they were just way over my head. I could never
And
get into it.
the guy sold me Nintendo Power too, and I had to come back and get it because originally we didn't buy it, and I kept begging mom to get it because in the Nintendo Power in the back they had the maps for Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah, you need that.
Back when video games had cheat codes.
Right? The
Yeah.
Konami code.
I wanted to wear that shirt, dude. I have a custom shirt that my friend Jared that I had him made for me. It's a custom shirt that literally says Konami and like under in the Konami letters with the swoosh above it, and then
Hmm.
below it it says "Code for Life." So it's Konami Code for Life. It's a
Nice.
custom shirt I had made, and I wanted to wear that just for this episode.
No, but you chose to kill the Cardassians.
Well, need to be done.
I understand. Oh, that was it for '86. So we got a movie. Well, we didn't. The Japanese audiences got a movie. 87, 88, nothing. I'm assuming during this time the popularity of video games was rising super super fast. Production was going into because of the popularity of home video game systems. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
had the Magnavox Odyssey, they had the Atari 2600, but when we got the Nintendo Entertainment System in the United States,
Yep.
we really got Mario. We got Mario that we know. So, 1989, we got the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. A
The one
wonderful
of the
mix,
best shows.
one of the most fun animated slash live action
Uh-huh.
shows that a kid could watch. We
Hey,
had
paisanos!
I love Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I love the on-screen adaptations. That
Mm-hmm.
is my Mario. Captain Lou Albano is my Mario.
Mm-hmm. He
And
was the absolute best, dude. We got the Mario we deserved. We got the Mushroom
mhm.
Kingdom we deserved. Super Mario Adventures 3. I wasn't too fond of the whole caveman town and everything. You know, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show was all around the best show.
And it was really focusing its adaptation from Super Mario Brothers 2, which
Uh-huh.
came out from the Nintendo Entertainment System. So that's when we got like the mushrooms that they could pick up and throw,
Yep.
and we were getting that whole thing. And since we have these four people, that was our four playable characters from Super Mario Brothers as well.
Yep.
They adapted a lot of the bad guys were more
Mm-hmm.
Mario Brothers 2 bad guys than original Mario Brothers. So we didn't get Goombas, we didn't get Koopas, but we did get like the snake and the Mauser,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that throws
Mausers.
bombs and stuff like that. Even though we didn't get
Shy
Wart,
Guys.
we did and Shy Guys and Sniffits. Um,
Yeah.
but we did get Koopa, and Koopa wasn't even in the Mario Brothers 2 in Super
Mm-hmm.
Mario Brothers 2. Um, but during this show, during Super Mario Brothers Super Show, it was a daily show, so we saw it 5 days a week. And
Mm-hmm.
on Fridays, we would get The Legend of Zelda,
Yep.
and it
Let's see,
is the
see if I got
first
that one.
time, the first adaptation animated Legend of Zelda. We got there's Link in all of his glory, and Princess
And
Zelda.
he was so cocky.
He was
I
so cocky.
loved Link. He was so cocky. He always called her princess. He barely ever called her Zelda. It was always, "Hey, princess, come on, princess."
It
He
was
was so
condescending.
cocky, condescending. And one of my all-time favorite things that they kept from the video game to the show was the sound effects.
Yeah,
The sound effects when he would attack somebody, or when he would you swing his sword, or he would shoot with his power, the noises that it made was the exact same sound effects from the video games. And I loved The Legend of Zelda so much. That was probably one of my absolute favorites besides the Super Show.
I I got so frustrated playing Zelda, Legend of Zelda, and Linked and Legend of Zelda 2. I
Yeah.
actually skipped the Super Mario Brothers Super Show on Fridays.
Oh, really?
Yes, I
Just
turned it
because of
off.
that
I
game?
was like, I don't want to watch Zelda. I don't want to watch
Oh,
Zelda. I don't care about Link. Click. I just
huge,
didn't watch it.
huge
I
fan of the entire Zelda franchise, man.
now I love Zelda. I'll try to go back and play all the Zelda games that I can now. At the time when I was a kid, I didn't understand it. It wasn't something I could follow. I if it wasn't scrolling from left to right and I could jump like
Uh-huh.
Mario, I really wasn't too interested. Um,
There's a guy. I don't know his name, don't know the link or anything like that. You'd have to Google it. There's a guy who actually took the original Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 game, and they actually made them into a first person view game.
ew,
And it changes everything,
I bet.
because so the enemies are still 2D. And but it's something you might have to Google. I don't want to get too much into because we're already running over on time. But just check it out. First person Legend of Zelda.
Right. I will check that out. So, and also during this time too, because of the popularity of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, there was another syndicated, smaller program, King Koopa's Cartoon, which would show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was also in 1989, using the animation uh, from the Super Show, but just kind of instead of Mario and Luigi being your hosts, you got this next guy as your host. Come on, show him. Let's just get it over with.
There it is. That
There's your
was the
live
live
action King Koopa.
adaptation of Koopa. And it was horribly great. I loved it. I had the actual the original t-shirt from that show too, because it was in a Nintendo Power that you could actually send away and buy it. It was a white t-shirt. On the front of it, it looked like Bowser's front section, the yellow, and
Mm-hmm.
it said the Koopa Show, and on the back of it, it had like the outline of a green turtle shell.
Yeah, because it was his minions or the kids that watched the show were the Koopa Troopers.
Yep, Koopa Troopers. Yep. And he would show cartoons.
Yep. I have no memory of this show at all. I only just discovered this show a couple of months ago, and I'm
Yep.
like, this is so wild.
To go from that to that,
Yeah,
just I
yeah.
don't know what the hell they were thinking. I don't even know what that guy was thinking, but hey, it happened.
I think I read like they can't find the actor, or they won't find the actor who will claim to have been Koopa.
That's
They like
hilarious.
they know who it is, and they've asked him, and he's like, "No, that was not me." That was, and like
No,
he will
never did it.
nobody will take ownership of having done this show and being in
Mm,
that suit. Um, Another great animated series that came out in this time is Captain N, and Captain N, the Game Master. This is a story about a kid who gets transported into his video game world. He goes on adventures in the Nintendo land.
yeah.
He goes through different Nintendo games that were popular at the time. Doesn't touch Mario, but he does go into Donkey Kong, goes into Castlevania. There was a crossover with Zelda.
There it goes.
Um, yeah,
Sorry about that. It wouldn't pull
it's
up.
okay. It's okay. He went the very first episode, like he was, or the second episode, they go into Bayou Billy. So it was just a way, really, to popular to advertise Nintendo specific games. See, you have Kid
Okay.
Icarus
So
here.
yeah, so just for those wanting to figure out what's happening here, this is Captain N. This
Kevin.
is not Kevin. This is not Zelda. This is not Daisy. This is was her name Lana or I want to say it was Lana or some sort of the L.
You'll catch me lying, man. But she was the
This
princess of Videoland.
Video Land, and that's the world in which he entered that we
Right.
mentioned just now. This strapping young lad right here with this big whip who looks like a pilot.
Yeah.
I will never forgive them for these two things right here.
Okay.
This is Simon Belmont
Okay. So
from Castlevania.
you say pilot. I see
You look,
adventurer.
oh, dude.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
he's got the
Okay.
goggles. Okay,
If
well,
he's in
okay,
the
we can say
mountainscape,
adventure. We can say adventurer. I still don't fucking see Captain. I mean, I don't. I still don't see Simon Belmont. This does not look like a vampire slayer from the Legends. For starters, blonde hair. That's short. Simon Belmont had long hair. Okay, I mean, even so, we're not. I don't want to get too much into it. I just want to talk about these two things.
and Mega Man,
This is Mega Man.
Mega
This
High.
this is Mega Man, also known as Rockman, but I'm okay with calling him either or. Now, on the original cover of the video games, they a lot of the animation that they took based off of these characters were from the cover boxes. And in the original cover box of Mega Man, he didn't look like our blue hero that we're so fond of. He looked very much like this, except he didn't look like a chubby, chibi fat child.
No,
He
he
looked
looked
like a
actually.
grown he looked like a grown ass man, like almost the size of this guy,
He,
but the color scheme was there.
yeah.
Except instead of green, it was more of a blue color, and he did on the cover have that yellow mohawk.
You know what it looks like? It reminds me of now. I'm thinking about the original Mega Man. Is
What's that?
it gave me? It's like Tron. Mega Man looked like he came out of Tron.
He kind of does, and I'll give you that. Mega Man, which originally was based off of a manga series in Japan, which was Rockman.
Mm-hmm.
The girl, her name Roll, was
Mm-hmm.
so
Rock and
we
roll.
had Rock and Roll.
Mm-hmm.
They did get Dr. Wily right because they used the cover and the game. The games were 8-bit, systems which didn't have much graphics or color.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Simon Belmont that we got, and this was the Mega Man we got. It's kind of hard to screw up Kid Icarus. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with that emo haircut. Was that the first emo
I,
haircut?
I'm going to go. I'm going to say yes.
That and Flock
Uh,
of Seagulls, maybe.
yeah, yeah, man. But I mean, and they were fighting villains, and they fought villains from the other Nintendo properties.
Yep.
They had King Hippo from Punch Out,
The eggplant guy.
Eggplant Wizard. Now,
Eggplant Wizard
from
from Kid Icarus.
is he from Kid Icarus?
Yeah, yeah, he was from
Okay,
Kid Icarus.
and
Uh,
then the big
Mother
bad
Brain.
Mother Brain.
We also had Dr. Wily was one of the main villains.
Doctor Wily wasn't in there, but
He was one of the main. There was the four main villains, and he was one of them.
yeah,
But we
yeah.
had the brain.
We had Mother Brain, and why didn't we get a Samus, or why wasn't the princess eventually going to be Samus to have that
I
strong woman
I
lead? Would have
thought
been
that
awesome.
Samus was in there because they did have Metroids in there.
Yeah,
They
they had
were
Metroid, they had Mother
obscured
Brain,
versions
but
of Metroids, but they and he used a zapper, which was
mm-hmm,
the blaster gun that we had, from Duck Hunt.
mm-hmm,
And then on his belt, he had the
the
oh my god,
gamepad.
the gamepad. Now, huge thing. Just want to settle this over once and for all for everybody that remembers this. You didn't remember it because it never happened. He never once used the power glove.
No.
Why? Don't know. But I mean, let's go to the wizard with that one. But still,
Well,
the,
speaking of the wizard, I mean, and we're gonna leave here. We're gonna come back to Captain N. I
there's a
want to do a
lot to
deep
go
dive for
back.
Captain N. I do
Yeah.
want to go. I almost kind of want to do an episode by episode breakdown, but I don't know if we have that kind of timing. But I do want to talk about 1989's The Wizard, the world's most expensive video game commercial for Super
Mm-hmm.
Mario Brothers 3. Starring Fred Savage and who the fuck else cares other than Christian Slater. Um,
Wait, is that Christian Slater?
no, that's not Christian Slater.
Okay, I was like, Christian Slater was older, but
Christian Slater is Fred Savage's older brother, and him and
these
Bo
people.
Bridges. Bo Bridges was Fred Savage's dad. Christian Slater was Fred Savage's older brother. So you got Bridges, you got Christian Slater, and they're not even on the poster.
Yeah, who I don't even know who the main. So I know Fred Savage,
Yes,
but he
he
wasn't even technically the main character.
he's not the wizard. He's
No,
the big brother of the wizard, the kid that's on his shoulders.
Luke Edwards, Jimmy,
Yes,
and
Jimmy
then
was a slightly autistic
Jenny.
kid who knew how to play video games. Ginny was this runaway teen that hooked up with these two to travel across the United States to compete in a Nintendo.
Haley was her name. Jenny Lewis was the actress.
Ah,
But yeah, I don't blame you for knowing that because I didn't
yeah.
either.
Anyway, they
Fred
traveled
Savage was
across
the
the
only memorable
country so
person.
they could, yeah, right. It introduced the Power Glove to the to people in the world, and the Power Glove was a bastard gimmick to give some kind of VR feel for video games. It technically only worked on two video games: Rad
Yeah,
Racer and Punch Out.
and and
Um,
and Fred Savage never even had it.
no,
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 he did.
no, he didn't.
No, who did? Who had it?
No, they had the kid. They had some kid that was like they were trying to compete against on their way to the competition to win
Okay.
money, and he became the bad guy, like like another kind of bad guy who was
Yeah,
competing against Jimmy at the competition at the end of the movie.
it was Karate Kid.
Yeah, yeah, it was
This
karate. It was autistic Karate Kid.
straight to hell. Oh God.
Sorry, what?
I made me think of some YouTube videos I saw, but anyways.
I mean, it is what it is.
Ugh.
And I don't know which movie made those dinosaurs in the desert more famous, this one or Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Um, but I would like to do a watch along with this movie just to talk
Yeah,
shit about it. But even though I talk shit about it, I talk shit about it with love, like a big brother.
it was a
I do love
horribly
this movie.
great film.
It was a horribly great film. It did have a heck of a cast. They're just not on the poster
I
for
feel
some
like
reason.
this is what they wanted. Like this is what like Captain N evolved into,
Yeah, yeah,
was the
yeah.
wizard.
But in all, though, this movie really was to present the next Super Mario Brothers game to us,
Hmm.
Super Mario Brothers 3, which turns into 1990's The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, which was, I believe, the last animated series that we had featuring the Mario Brothers.
Yep.
So, like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, adapted enemies and powers from Super Mario Brothers 2,
Hmm.
The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, did that. It gave us the locales and the worlds from Super Mario Brothers 3
Hmm.
and the powers to see the raccoon suit. Um,
And more of Koopa Kids.
yes, we did get the Koopalings. We did get the
Yeah, like,
Koopa
I
kids.
think I think what's his Ludwig was in like the first episode, and this takes place too. It's weird. They're in some like they're in a dinosaur caveman land. You know,
That was
no
one of
long.
their that was one of the
Yeah,
worlds that they would go to.
yeah,
It
this is
it,
true.
it gave
They
them an
went to different
option.
worlds.
Yeah,
Giant Land was my favorite.
right in Pipeland, and
Hmm.
just like Super Mario Brothers 3, it gave us those different worlds that were kind of themed one
Yeah.
another. But I believe no, actually, this is not.
What?
This is not the last animated adaptation we have of Super
Super
Mario.
Mario World.
Yep, I just
Super
remembered
Mario World
they
was the
did adapt
last
Super
one.
Mario World, and
Yep,
that one's going to have to come on
in the
another
90s
episode. Yep,
because that
that's
came out in the early 90s.
yeah. With the advent of the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
But this is going to be it. This is going to be the last thing that we have of the 80s leading into the 1990s. Uh, Super Mario World, and we have only one theatrical adaptation that we didn't even get here in the States. We did get a lot of cultural references in our
Hmm.
movies and on TV shows. There were some other TV shows I didn't mention, like Different Strokes, that would involve video games.
Hmm.
But this is the beginning. This is the genesis, uh, pun unintended, of video games going into the different facets of
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Um, and so this is just the legwork, and the '90s is going to be even wilder.
I think I think what we might do, and it's just because it's something I really want to get into.
Sure.
I think so. We're gonna post this on the Facebook page. Something
Right.
that's, and my idea here is let's pick like three of these that we've gone over in this show
Okay.
and make the next episode when we decide to come back to NES versus to VHS. Focus on three shows that we've mentioned here.
Okay.
One of them, hands down, has to be Captain N.
Right.
I don't think we can necessarily do an entire episode on that. Maybe it'd be really drawn out, but
Captain N.
there's a lot to cover there. But let's give them two more options as well.
Okay.
So we're gonna make like a Facebook post on this. Which
Hmm.
other, to pick two, whichever two gets the most votes. We'll do an episode on Captain N and maybe two others.
Okay.
Sound good?
I like that. I'll list all this up on the Facebook page. We'll put it
Okay.
to some kind of poll.
Yep.
I'll also make a poll on X as well.
Okay.
I remember how our last poll that we put on there went for me, so we can do that.
I just want to throw it out there too. A lot of the responsibility right now is currently on OZ over here because the Freaks account, my Instagram and my Facebook account were hacked. a lot of the posts you see on Facebook are usually of me, my posts. A lot of the TikToks we see are usually OZ, but I've recently had my account hacked. My account is currently disabled. I currently have no affiliation whatsoever with Facebook and Instagram. I'm currently working on getting those back. I got a friend of mine who had her account hacked. She's been waiting 9 months trying to get hers back.
Oh,
So
good Lord.
there is a chance that I will never get that back. The only reason I'm upset about it is I would be more upset if our Facebook page was actually taken down. But since I have you as the admin as well,
Yep.
and creator, the Facebook page for OZ and the Freak Talk Geek is still up, which awesome, because I did not want to lose any of y'all and
No.
start all over.
Right.
But I lost pictures, of mom, of family, and everything else that I didn't really have saved. So that's the only bummer.
I'm sorry to hear that, bud.
So I'll work on getting a new Facebook page up soon, and so I can kind of contribute and do a lot more there too. But until then, I think that's it for this episode. Follow us at OATFTG, Facebook, Instagram. What?
Continue.
I know I'm doing your part. Okay, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to contribute. You can find us on our LinkedIn. It has all. I'm not LinkedIn. What did I say? Linktree. Yeah, I'm butchering it. This is why you need to do it.
Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you giving us your view. Please follow us on all of our social media accounts, OATFTG, everywhere on social media, or look us up, OZ and the Freak Talk Geek. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. Please give us a like, please give us a follow. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Also, our DMs are open. If you don't want it publicly, you can also DM us and talk to us. We would love to hear your suggestions. We would love to hear your comments about our show. What are we doing wrong? What can we do better? We would love to hear from you. We've also heard some feedback about how some of our topics are a little too broad. We're going to try to focus it. Today's episode is not really
introduction,
a reflection of that, but we do hear you. We will be more focused, and this is why we want to have the poll also on our Facebook group. So really, in this topic, where can we focus? What would you want to hear more about? What do you want to hear our commentary about, or what would you care about our opinions about? Maybe we share those opinions, maybe we not. But come fight us on social media.
Yeah, and the show will only get better if we can get contributions from y'all.
Yes,
we don't know what we're doing wrong or what we're doing that's great unless y'all tell us.
Yeah.
If there's something we're messing up on, we're going to keep messing up on it. We're going to keep on digging that hole deeper until y'all tell us, hey, y'all are screwing up. Don't do this.
Just slap our hands.
Oh, shit.
And tell us bad.
Yeah.
Bad. No more. So please reach out and let us know. We sure do appreciate you. Please like and subscribe on all of our streaming sites. Give us the thumbs up, or hell, give us a thumbs down too. Just let us know that you're seeing it. We sure do appreciate you. Thank you so much again for watching. For the Freak, I'm OZ. We've been talking geek.
The end.